All right.
I'll let Ryan feel left out.
Yeah, we're going live.
Nice.
All right. Hello. Let me mute this. And where's my Zoom? Where am I? There we go. Hello, everybody. This is Luke with Wedding Film Coach, and welcome to the channel. Gosh, we haven't done anything on here. I think my last upload was literally like October of 2020, maybe. But we got some more. We got some more stuff coming. And so, but I wanted to kind of kick this season off with a very fun, hopefully lighthearted, but also interesting and helpful. All of our content, we always want that to be helpful. And so we're going to have a little roundtable. And here with me, I have Ryan Sims with Ember and Ash Films out of Nashville, Tennessee. Say hello, Ryan.
Hello.
And then we also have Wade Hodges of Wade Hodges Media and Lexington Wedding Films. Say hello, Wade.
Hello, everybody.
Wade Hodges also operates in the Nashville, Tennessee area, and also runs a micro brand for me in Lexington, Kentucky, and is doing a fine job of all those things. And so thanks, guys, for being on here with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, appreciate you having us, Luke. I'm excited. I love you. Been having fun working with Wade, so let's do it.
Yes.
Yeah. So full disclosure, both of these guys, I guess technically have worked for me. And so I have trained them and paid them to say all good things and only good things about me. But I also had the wonderful privilege of filming both of their weddings. And so I actually filmed for Ryan first, and we became friends through that. And he was kind of starting his journey to get into filmmaking in general, and just kind of through our friendship that we were forming and through his own interest, he thought that wedding filmmaking might be a good place to start with that. And then Wade and I actually met through wedding filmmaking. He had shot a few films in college, and I kind of reached out to some contacts I had, and we connected, and we've been working together since 2017. Wade, does that sound right?
Beginning of 2017.
So gosh, 5 years, it's half a decade, man.
I know, it's crazy. Entering my 6th year of doing this, because I got my start with you. So I just thought about that, like, man, 6 years, that's crazy.
Yeah,
you're getting up there, Wade.
I know, I'm feeling older every day.
I was just talking about, like, I'm gonna have to like just ice down my knees while we're on this Zoom call, just because I am significantly older than you guys. But I feel like I was going somewhere with that. But anyway, so I tell you what, I kind of gave just a little bit of an intro about you guys, and for anybody new joining the channel, my name is Luke. I run a brand called LW Films for my name, Luke Woodward, and operate primarily in kind of the heartland area of the United States. So kind of start in, St. Louis, I'm in Chicago recently, Indianapolis, Lexington, Louisville, Kentucky, kind of coming down. I've filmed in Knoxville before, starting to film in Atlanta a little bit, and then done a little bit of work in Nashville and Memphis, and so kind of around that area of the country. And was just talking about this, have my first film and my first film gig in Colorado coming up around the Denver Estes Park area specifically. And so I'm super excited about just spending time with these guys. And that's a little bit about me. I gave just a little bit of an intro. And so Wade, why don't you just take a minute and tell everybody kind of who you are and about your businesses, and then we'll kind of get into our round table, wrapping up 2021 and then getting into 2022.
Gotcha. So my name is Wade, like you said, and I have been doing wedding videos for 6 years. I've been doing video in general for a bit longer than that, but weddings is really kind of what started it serious. Before that, it was just kind of high school. Had a little DSLR camera that I got when I was in high school, so nothing too serious, just kind of playing around. And basically, I've just been doing weddings for 6 years, and I've recently started doing a lot more nonprofit stuff. The most consistent thing I do is like contract work with a church down in Lebanon, Tennessee. So that's something that's a month-to-month basis. They just kind of throw all their projects at me that they have, especially during the summer, which just so happens to be the busiest wedding season. So summers are great for me. But I've also had a lot of people reach out that are part of other nonprofits, and I really like that kind of stuff. Most of them are things that I believe in, which I love doing, and I'm trying to up my quality as far as wedding films. I'm in my 6th year, like I said, so I'm just trying to get up there and try to make them more and more high quality as I can, just as I grow as a filmmaker, just to be constantly growing and challenging myself. I don't ever want to stay the same, and hopefully my editing skills can get better. How I see a story unfold in a wedding and planning all that stuff can get better. Those are the kind of things that I'm working on right now.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Ryan, what about you? Give us a little intro into you. What are you all about?
Yeah, so my name's Ryan Sims. Luke said, Ember Nash Films is my film company. I'm actually just completed my first full year in the business. So, definitely have learned a lot and will continue to learn a lot from both of you all. It's been a whirlwind of year one. I think it's just really, it's something I've always wanted to do, in the sense of be in the creative space and stuff like that. So it kind of dating back to high school, whereas Wade kind of mentioned, like, kind of get some interest in that. I basically did like comedy skits and like YouTube stuff with like my high school friends for fun. First time using camera, kind of getting behind all that. And it just kind of like blossomed into GoPro travel videos. And, it just, the passion was always there, just didn't really ever try to apply it in a professional sense. And then just kind of basically slapped me in the face one day after like really getting to work with Luke, as he mentioned, and kind of just putting the pieces together of, there could be something here, something that taking passion and being able to do, create into a business and, potential career. So, and then I got reached out to by a friend who'd seen me do recap videos and kind of sparked it, like, hey, would you want to share a wedding? And that kind of just started it all. Like I said, that was the beginning of last year. And so I've done 5 my first year solos, as well as I did do a second shoot with Wade, which was really fun. I'm kind of hoping we can do some more of those this year, but it's just been really good. I've grown a lot just in that year one, just learning a lot of stuff, like, failing and then having to adjust and just learn through that growing process. But it's been really rewarding, and I'm kind of excited to just continue to learn, and just continue to further any skills that, just kind of take it from beginner level to that next intermediate level, and then just continue to advance and just always get better, because it's just been a lot of fun and really fulfilled me so far. So
I've been meaning to ask you, what is Ember and Ash come from? Where did you come up with that name?
I appreciate the question. So I was kind of firing back and forth some ideas with my wife for a name. And we landed on Ember and Ash for a couple reasons. Like, think of the analogy of like a wedding day and how much is happening during that. Like, it is constant move. Like when you're in the actual shoes of the groom, for example, I mean, it's just constant movement. You got scheduling, you got things. It's basically a blaze of fire, right? Like, it is just so quick. So the whole analogy of you barely get a piece of your own wedding cake by the time it's done, kind of thing. So I see that as like being a blaze of fire, and then what do you want to have left after the day is over? Like some media behind it, like think photo is really important, but video kind of captures a whole different aspect of the day. And so like having embers and some ash after the fire is blazed out is something that's going to carry you on forward. And you're going to be able to like remember back to that day and remember back to that time and your feelings and emotions. So that's kind of where it came from. And I think it's cool because it gives it kind of an adventure side too, because I kind of want to style some of my branding towards that. And I just think it's like, you know, that camp like theme is kind of cool. But yeah, that's kind of the general theme behind it. No one's ever asked me that before, so I appreciate you asking me that.
You are so much, you're just showing us up with the creativity. Me and Luke.
Yeah, that was awesome, Ryan. Wow.
We didn't think at all about it.
Well, I've always been honestly like super self-conscious about like LW Films like as a creative brand. I'm like, it's my name. Like I really wanted to do something creative with it, but like at the end of the day, it's just okay, I need a website. I need to call this thing something so I can take people's money. And it was like that's where I landed. So that's so cool, Ryan. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that too, Wade.
Yeah, it's good. That's awesome.
Well, one of and to kind of recap, I didn't do a good job of this at the beginning of the stream, but if you're watching or watching the recap, so what this video is we wanted to do a 2021 recap from a wedding filmmaker's perspective, and then you kind of have three different perspectives here that we're going to kind of bounce ideas off of. And I feel like I'm seasoned. I wouldn't say I'm like a veteran in the industry, but I've been doing this since I was about 30, so almost 7 years now. And there's people who've been doing a lot longer than me, but the industry has shifted so much, even in the 7 years I've been doing it. But I felt like that's kind of like the start of this new generation. When you talk about like style and camera accessibility and technology and all this stuff. But then, you know, Wade, he's been doing it since 2017, so a little bit less experience than me. And then Ryan just finished up his first year. And so I thought this would be a really neat conversation to have, like, okay, how, you know, what were our years like, and what does the wedding industry look like to us now? What kind of things are we excited about? What kind of things are we apathetic about? You know, and just kind of get all different angles there. Because one of my frustrations with a lot of content online, especially YouTube, is just everyone kind of comes out and acts like a pro and acts like they know everything. And I certainly don't. I try to be as helpful as I can. But I'm also aware enough to know that there's a lot of different perspectives that could still be helpful to people, even if I don't you know, subscribe to that ideology or that thinking, or I don't see something in a certain way. And so I feel like this is going to be super helpful to anybody who's just starting out in their wedding filmmaking journey, or maybe you're stuck on like year 2 or year 3 or year 4. You're kind of in that weird twilight zone. Some of this stuff may help you. And so with that said, one of my first questions, kind of a softball question to open up with, is what was your biggest win for the year? And so Ryan, this is your first year. You just finished your first year in 2021. So talk for a minute about what was your biggest win for the year.
Yeah, for sure. I'll start off by saying this might be just, you might not be the answer you want, but it's going to be the way I feel. Is just that honestly, believing in myself enough to start it was huge. I had struggled a lot with, you know, just the anxiety or the self, like just being so self-conscious of kind of putting some like art out there, like putting forth a name of like, hey, I'm going to do this, and actually like try to make it like an actual business kind of thing like that. I think that's maybe something a lot of people don't talk about, or maybe not enough. Maybe there's somebody watching this as well that maybe feels the same way. But I think the biggest win was just actually like, you know, putting that name behind it, like starting it up and actually like getting out there and doing it. Like, and you know, that the first one or two especially had literally no clue. And I leaned a lot on, you know, Luke, your guidance, like your initial notes for this course as well, just to kind of have like a structure and a guide there. I think that really helped. But just just win for me was literally just kind of just saying, all right, I'm doing this. It's going to be a thing. I'm going to follow this through, and let's just see what happens. And I think I at the end of the year, I looked back and I said, okay, I feel good about how this went, and I'm glad I did it. So that's kind of was my win for year one, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. Yeah. And for sure, like just kind of getting your foot out the door and making it happen, man. I'm super proud of you. And I appreciate the shout out. But yeah, that's all you, man. Great job.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Wade, what about you, buddy? What was your biggest win for the year?
I think honestly, it's like it might be in a way just pulling myself back a little bit, because when you're doing weddings all the time, that obviously takes away your weekends. And I'm pretty newly married. This will be our 2-year anniversary in June, so like a year and a half. So before that, when I was a college kid and I was filming weddings, it was fine. I could just do as many as I wanted, and drive and stay over the night however I wanted. But being a husband now, I'm trying to be more available on the weekends. So the big thing that I did was find people that can help film for me, find people that I can trust to go film those weddings just whenever something comes up, or just to have a gap in between, the big chunks of the year that are taken up all those weekends. And I just don't get any time with my wife or my friends or family or anything like that. So it's been good to teach me the importance of delegation, because a lot of the people that we've done, that I had to do the filming with, have done a great job. I also really hope that I can teach them things. So Luke too, help them learn how to be better videographers as they do these weddings with us. So I think that's my biggest thing, is I probably did less weddings than I did the year before, technically, as far as filming them, but I still was managing everything and editing it all and making sure everything was good with the client and good with our videographers. So I still did a lot of that management stuff, but just taking those Saturdays and having somebody else be able to do that was a huge step for me. And I'm really felt good about it. I felt a lot more rest this year.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah. I think the idea of rest is underrated in our generation. I'll say our generation, just to stay away from the old jokes for me. But yeah, there's, because everybody's all about hustle and, making it happen and getting it done, and, just going as hard as you can, which I definitely have that value of hard work instilled into me. And if anything, I lean more into that than I do the rest. But I think that's just super wise of you. And I mean, I'll say this publicly. I have a lot of respect and appreciation for Wade just as a man. I can tell that you put being a husband is like top priority in your life. And I get a lot of, I feel like I'm just always getting wisdom from you, man, in that respect. So I feel like that's awesome, and definitely something probably a lot of people needed to hear as well.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that I have some wisdom to give back to you after you've given me so much.
Just bouncing it off. Yes, you're welcome. For me, for my biggest win, I'm feeling a little bit, I don't know, guilty isn't the right word, ashamed maybe. That's too strong. But so Ryan mentioned earlier, like a course that he kind of went through and some content that I'd sent him. I've had my wedding filmmaking course about 80% finished for maybe 18 months now. And I have just not had I have not taken the time. I won't say I haven't had the time. I've not taken the time or made myself disciplined enough to go in and finish it up and sand it down. I've been wanting to launch it for a really long time. I kind of soft launched it a couple months ago, and I just didn't have a great response. Kind of just some old emails that I'd sent it out to. But anyway, it's still kind of an alpha, like pre-beta stage. And so I just have such a hard time asking people for money for something that I feel like isn't perfect, which that's the wrong kind of thinking. I like Ryan's way of thinking, like, hey, I just need to put myself out there and just start somewhere and then build on that. I think that's a much better, healthy, and overall, better business way to do things as well. So that's something that I've still got to kind of get over in my mind as well. So again, see, I'm even though I'm the seasoned one here, I still got a lot of stuff that I have to learn from these guys. So all that to say, I wish that I could say my biggest win was that I launched my course this year, but I cannot say that. And so I will say that for 2022. You've heard it right here. We're launching the course this year. And so I think there's probably a place on weddingfilmcoach.com to sign up for that if you want more information on that. But so my biggest win for 2021 is probably, yeah, I hate to like boil it down to this because there's a lot more to wedding filmmaking than just like raising your prices and, getting bigger bookings. But at the same time, that is a good win. It's a good measurement of kind of a good macro measurement. I wouldn't say look at your rates all the time, but every now and again, you want to make sure you're growing. So anyway, I had my biggest booking this last year. It was just under 18K, I think, with expenses and all that stuff wrapped into it. And I feel like the first thing, when you hear something like that, the first thing you want to do is like, oh, how do you get those clients? How do you do that kind of work? And the truth of it is, and I feel like I've heard this from other people who work with very high paying clients, is you just got to get lucky and you got to know what you're doing. I don't feel like there's a magic uh, way to do your business. I mean, like, just take care of your clients, do good work. There's a point, we can maybe talk about this later. I won't get into it now, but there's definitely a point of like quality where, as you start to increase your prices above that, you're really not increasing your prices because you're doing a much better job or you're delivering in higher resolution or you're, whatever, you're offering more in your package. It's more about your presence. It's more about the caliber of your brand, the mitigation of risk that your client chooses to take on whenever they book with you. They can have more confidence in kind of what you're bringing to the table. That you're not going to show up at the reception and just go dive into the hors d'oeuvre tray. That you kind of know how to handle yourself amongst other human beings. Where you're not in a barn wedding or something. And we all have barn weddings, so much love to them. But I'm kind of babbling now. But anyway, so that was my biggest win for the year, is that I charged for a lot for a wedding. But I'm not going to say that like, yeah, I just charged them and I did the same amount of work that I would do for a $4,000 wedding. Like I definitely worked my butt off for that wedding, and Wade was there with me filming it. I had to bring him along, and it was a 3-day event. Is that right, Wade? Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Could have been
And
4-day, but we didn't do anything.
That's right.
They ended up.
Yeah, we had something scheduled for the 4th day as well, but they wanted to just kind of chill out, which was great.
Yeah, it's good for us.
And so there was a lot of like next day edits involved in all of those events and individual little, not branded videos, but like little family videos that I made, little speech videos that I made. So there was a whole package involved. It's not like they were paying me, $18,000 for a 3 to 4 minute highlight video. And so it was quite a built out package, a much more kind of sophisticated touch on what maybe I would normally do. And so I think the thing that I'm most excited about for that was not that I made more money doing that, but that kind of what you were getting back to, Ryan, is that I've kind of proven to myself that I can operate at that level, that I am good enough to be there with all these other people who say they book those weddings all the time. And to kind of see the reality of it is that, I just happened to get chosen by, and the funny thing was, it was a wedding and they booked me for much less than that. initially, and then they had a change of plans through some circumstances, ended up, changing the destination of the wedding, changing the whole structure of the wedding, and they wanted more out of what I could offer. And so it was very serendipitous that it worked out that way. And it was a beautiful, beautiful family that I love dearly, and I hope to remain friends with for the rest of my life. And so, it's not like, hey, how can I fleece these people for, for more stuff? How can I trick them into buying more videos? Like, if you're trying to figure out how to upsell people, like, I don't have any advice for you, because I tell people on the phone all the time, like, I do not upsell you. I do not nickel and dime you. I build my packages to be pretty much what 90 to 95% of my clients will want or need. And then the other stuff is there because it is extra. It is kind of frivolous. You don't need that to enjoy your wedding videos. But if you have the extra budget and it sounds like it's something cool, then you can go for it. So anyway, I'm getting outside of the scope of the question, but that was a big win for me.
Yeah, I was there with you, and I feel like I had to tell you a few times that you deserve to be there.
You did. I remember that. Yeah. And I appreciated that. Yeah.
So, and then it's easy to think that, but you were ready for that moment for longer than, for like a year at least at that point. It took a while for that opportunity to come. So that's like kind of the philosophy that I go with pricing is I want to be good enough before I raise my prices. I want to be ready for that moment before I've raised that prices, because I don't ever want to be charging people more than what I'm worth. I want to earn my way to get to that point. And you definitely do that at that point. That's my advice to people, because I know plenty of videographers that are trying to up their price as quick as they can before they've, gone through the fire really and learned all the things that just come with experience. It's not really things that can be taught through any like word of mouth. It's just things you got to go through.
Well said, Wade.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And all I add to Luke, is just that, yeah, I mean, it just sounds like you had an affirmation of just confidence, right? Like it took a little bit to go through and be like, yeah, I am worth this. And I just like this big part of like running your own business, you know what I mean? And like kind of being that entrepreneur, being like, I want to be confident in what I bring to the table. I want to be confident on the wedding day. I want to be confident in my brand, in my company, in my, like, the story I want to tell for our couples and stuff. Right. So I think it's all a mindset part of it too. And I'm glad you feel that way. I agree. So.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Yeah, man, I think y'all nailed it on the head. I think there's so much to confidence, and I don't know the right dynamic, but you want to have confidence, but at the same time, you also want to honor your clients. I use that phrase a lot, but like just making sure that you're giving them just a ton of value, giving them your best, and I think together, those make a really good marriage. But confidence, if you're just trying to, like, build your own business and not really worried about the client or their experience, you're just trying to get money from them so you can get a new camera, a new lens. Like, I feel like that's what Wade was kind of talking about. Like, you're going to get a hotter fire, to go through in that respect. And I see so many people who have bad experiences with their clients because either they didn't set expectations clearly, or they didn't, they feel like their client is being unreasonable, and their client feels like they're not getting what they were supposed to get out of the deal. And, I don't feel like I've never had that kind of client experience whenever I've actually had a contract. I had one client who was trying to get stuff out of me, but it was like when I first started and we just kind of like set something up through an email. It was very, very early, and I didn't know any of the stuff that I know now. So yeah, I think just with that in mind, like, just take care of your clients, and your business will take care of itself a lot, if you have that confidence. So good stuff. What is one of the biggest changes you've made in your business in this last year? And so, Ryan, that'll look a little different for you, obviously, because you're just starting, but maybe what was for you. I'll tell you what, I don't want to, I just want you to talk about whatever you want to talk about, but I want Wade to go first. We'll keep it an
Okay.
open question. What
Okay.
was your
Open
biggest
question.
change you made in your business this year,
Um,
Wade?
well, I'm making some big changes at the moment for 2022, so we'll see how those go. But I'd say for 2021, one of the biggest things I is very similar to like what I said earlier with the people filming for me. Is I've found an editor to help me with the workload because, like Luke said, I managed the Lexington Wedding Films brand, and he mentioned that was a micro brand, which is pretty much just um, we're trying to give people the most bang for their buck. People that can't afford a huge wedding package, that they still want a wedding video, we'll try to give them something that they can still afford. And with that comes volume. So I think I had total 40 weddings this year, which is crazy. If you're in the wedding industry, that is a lot. A lot of those were double booked weekends and stuff like that, but it's really hard to keep up with that workload. So I found a guy, and I've actually never met him in person. I'm pretty sure he lives in Ukraine, but me and him talk all the time on Instagram Messenger and Facebook Messenger, and he's been great for me. He takes instruction very well. Just editing the films that for Lexington Wedding Films that I can't, not that I can't make time for, it's just I don't have time for. So that's been a huge thing that I've added. That's another thing that has helped me with stress and getting rest this year. That was a big emphasis for me because I think in 2020, even though it was a COVID year, I feel like I was just burned out at all times. I had probably less weddings in 2020 than I had in 2021, and I was still feeling just burnt out, and which saps your creativity. It makes you not really fun to hang out with or to be around. It's not a good situation. That was a big thing I tried to fix with having somebody film for me and having somebody that can edit in a pinch like that, just to take the workload off of me. So that's a big change that I will be continuing to do. But 2021 was the first year of me doing those things.
Yeah. Same here, actually. That was the biggest one that I made this year too, just outsourcing my editing. I have always kind of said that one of the things I focus on is like image quality, and then just like a very natural, organic, but still like emotionally engaging edit. And so most of what we do is more kind of the music video style wedding films. And so it's less of the like, it opens up with the bride or groom reading a letter, and then there's vows, and then you hear the preacher say something. It's mostly just kind of, edited to the beat of the music. We'll incorporate vows or letters in there sometimes if the clients want us to, but that's kind of mostly our style. And so anyway, that should be easier to edit, but at the same time, like, because it can get so monotonous, there is kind of some, almost like throwing a football, like anyone can have power, but like to have that touch, right, or to have that accuracy, or to have it, spiral just so tight, you have to kind of have a touch about editing those videos to still make them emotionally engaging, make sure that everything in your clip is good, that the background isn't dirty, that there's not, somebody picking their nose in the background. And a lot of times I have tried a few editing firms before, and they just have no attention to detail when it comes to that stuff. And it's just frustrating because like you think, oh, it should be easy, just get the good clips, just get the good lit shots and throw them in there. But there's a lot more to it than that. And so I finally found two different teams that have edited for me this last year. One kind of takes the videos that, I'll never say that, like, some of my clients are better clients or worse clients, but some weddings are just kind of, some are bigger and some are smaller. Some are I'm more connected with the client. Some are more like, okay, hey, thanks for showing up. Tell us when the video's here. It's just kind of a transaction, and that's fine as well. That's as much as the client wants to connect with me. And so those clients that I don't connect with as much, and there's kind of not as much chemistry there, or it was a more simpler wedding, all one location, um, not much going on other than just getting dressed, ceremony, reception. That was about it. Those I'll kind of send to a more kind of lower end editing firm that I use, and I'm not quite as happy with them because again, they're just not as creative, don't have that attention to detail. But whenever I give them feedback, they're usually quick to jump on it. And then I found a singular guy that he's a lot better with that respect. Real close attention to detail, always looking for how to integrate story elements into it that may be a bit non-traditional. Does some good coloring, and and I feel like all that together, it has just, like Wade said, it's just kind of lifted a big burden off of me of like constantly just being in the weeds. And so I can kind of elevate my eyes to look at my brand overall and see, okay, where do I want to kind of move the big pieces and not just the small little pieces everywhere. And at the same time, I still edited probably about a third, maybe even a half of all the films I shot this last year, just because I really do enjoy connecting with my clients. I mean, Ryan's a good example of that. Him and his wife, Becky, I edited all of their films. They got married twice. They got married in 2020 and 2021.
Yeah, he doubled the
Selfish
fun
people.
of edits for me. Yeah.
Yes. We're going to do another one 2022, I'm sure. They're going to call me up. Hey,
That was
come on
because of
vacation.
COVID. There was no divorce in there. It was because of COVID.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
That is true. That's true. That should be a good footnote. It is.
Good clarification.
We've been happily married throughout the whole thing. Yeah.
But anyway, that was a big part for me as well. Just
it sounds
getting
like for
that
both
editing
of y'all,
off.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Ryan.
Luke. I was going to sound like for both of y'all, like outsourcing when needed has helped you like run your business better, right?
Mhm.
Like it just seems like it's taking some of that burnout off. Allowing you to be more creative in the edits you do involve yourself in, and yeah, it just for someone who doesn't have the volume yet for outsourcing, like that's good to know because when I reach that point, it's okay. Number one, is outsourcing okay? Yes, if you find someone you trust. That's what it sounds like. So yeah.
And I would, if I had to like make a suggestion, like, if you ask me when should I start outsourcing, it would be as soon as you have defined what your typical style is and you can communicate that to someone. So I wouldn't even put like whenever you have 20 weddings or whenever you have 30 or 40, I wouldn't even put a number on it. Whenever you can articulate to somebody else how you would edit something and you know how you would edit it, I think that's the time to start outsourcing, because that gives you more time to grow with that individual or with that team. And that way you're not already kind of keeping that bottleneck on you, so that whenever you are ready to grow, you're ready to grow. You don't have to be like, okay, well now I need to find an editor. So that's one piece of advice that I would give to someone like you, Ryan. Be like, go ahead and start thinking about that now. Because for the longest time I was pretty bullish and not snobbish, but just like, I didn't want to let go of that control because I wanted to honor my clients, but I found a way to do it finally.
That's what it seems like. Other speakers I've heard talk about this, it seems like a similar thing. It's like your baby. You don't want to give it away and let somebody else edit. It's really hard to kind of pass it off. And Wade, you may have felt the same way, like with your first year of doing that as well. But that just seems to be a common theme there.
Yes, very true.
And so with all those things said, Ryan, do you have anything in your experience this last year that you want to share that kind of goes in with that?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I
mean,
right. Like, I just have 1 year of experience to pull from. So obviously it's a little different, but I did make some changes towards the end of the year that I'm excited about going into 2022. Mainly with it being started using a CRM like fully. It was something that, and you talked about it in the course too, Luke, but it was, for the first few, it was just, all right, I'll just have, PDFs and files and just email back and forth and it's going to be fine. But as inquiries started to roll in like a somewhat more frequent basis, it was like, I want to feel and look more professional and have like a system that can kind of help me be organized, because I love to be organized. I just didn't know how to. And so, yeah, using a CRM, I think really, like it just helped me a lot with that. It's just kept me, again, like I can have templates for a proposal, templates for invoicing, communications, all right there. So, and I'm not, I'm not going to plug, I don't need to plug mine necessarily. There's a lot out there that are good for different budgets and styles and whatever. But I think that was huge for me to feel, again, like I can serve my clients better moving forward. Um, as we go into 2022, just kind of having that system in place. And then one other small one is that I had a website presence all through 2021, just to have a landing spot, just so people could see some work I'd done. But I've spent a lot more time kind of during this like off season in like actually making something that I feel like represents my style a little more. And to be able to like launch that kind of fully like going into this year as well, I think it just gives me, again, like a little more confidence in like my style and like idea of what I want to do and what I want to show. And again, just ultimately serve the client better by saying, this is kind of what I like envision when I make films. Like, if you align with that, then that'd be awesome. I'd love to work with you, kind of thing. So those are two things for me.
That's really good. That's a super helpful thing for starting your business, is just to have it more all in one place and organized, and helping your clients just hear from you better. And that's a game changer for sure. That's something I haven't thought about in a while. That definitely is a huge thing for people that are starting up their business, with weddings especially, but probably any kind of business.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I remember when I was still, doing this part time, and I worked at a call center for a while, and on my lunch breaks, I would take my iPad and I would go and make invoices, off like a little app that I'd gotten, and then I would make each little individual one, and then I would email it to the client and print it off, and it's, man, it's so much easier now with a good CRM. So yeah, good piece of advice there. Absolutely. Next thing I wanted to talk about was, this could be as little of a conversation or as much of a conversation, but how was your year affected by COVID, if at all, as far in the context of wedding filmmaking?
Yeah, I think for me, at least for 2021, it was affected kind of like as a not as directly, because 2020 is where everything happened. Really, 2021 wasn't as bad, but we got the ripple effects in 2021. So a ton of stuff that I booked in 2021, or that were supposed to happen in 2020 got pushed to 2021. So there was a lot more work. There was a lot of scrambling the dates around and stuff like that. So I think it upped my workload, and it kind of caused a little bit more stress. But luckily I was able to work everything out where we're able to go to every wedding and make sure everybody was covered. So I'm really thankful for that. But I think it could have been a lot worse, but I think we handled it pretty well. That's the main thing. There wasn't really any weddings that were super abnormal. I think I did actually have one that was in somebody's garage. It ended up being in Louisville. They got married at the Catholic church, and there was like just the immediate family there, and they ended up going back to the house that they were going to live at, and they had like it decorated, but it was just the open garage and then into their driveway like a tent. So yeah. That was the only wedding that I think really was like super altered. So I'm pretty lucky that's all that happened. I'm sure there are much more horror stories out there about it.
Yeah, mine was kind of similar. I had a couple that were pushed to 2021 from 2020, and like Ryan, we kind of joked about earlier, but he had well, I'll let you talk about your story, but I had a couple like you that had kind of had two different events, and then that was about it. And one of the, and everybody's different because we all live in different places in the country. So like, if you were in New York City, like, you probably didn't film a lot of weddings, but like, if you're in rural Kentucky and there's a lot of barn weddings or outdoor weddings or just where there's a lot of space. And also just, for better or for worse, people view COVID differently. There were less restrictions around where I was filming a lot. And so that had its benefits as well. So not a huge thing for me this year, fortunately. But Ryan, yeah, tell us a little bit about your personal story, your wedding, and then like how business was affected this year by it.
Yeah, for sure. It was not fun planning during COVID and having a wedding. I mean, and I know Wade has a bit of this too from the planning side. He didn't have two weddings like I did, so but
yeah,
it was
man, you
just
missed that opportunity, Wade.
Dang it, we could have spent more money.
Right, yeah, exactly. It was just a nightmare, honestly. I mean, I can sympathize so well with other COVID like bride and grooms from that. Just when you spend like a year planning one thing and then it just gets turned on its head in an instant and you had to scramble. We got engaged in 2019, had an initial date of May 9th, 2020. Obviously that didn't happen. We had two dates that we could move our venue to. One was in July, one was in November. We were basically trying to just guess, would it be better to do one or the other? And we were like, well, surely it won't be going on that long. Let's just go into July, whatever. Well, obviously that wasn't the case. So we basically we still got married at the original church. It was just immediate family and friends. It was really scaled down, probably about a fourth of our guest list. And we had our mini reception, we just called our dinner reception at where we were going to have our rehearsal dinner. So it's just that smaller space. Like it had an eating area. It had some games. It had, like pool and foosball and whatever. So like it kept me entertained in lieu of like an actual dancing reception. So it kind of worked out, but it was just plugging and playing of, okay, we can't do this, so we got to do this. And constantly being worried about if the whole thing was going to get canceled again. It was so stressful for me and my wife to have to kind of walk through that at the beginning of our like marriage and everything. I think it helped us definitely go stronger really quickly. But it was just, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Honestly, it was bad. But then, so we got through all that. It worked out great and no one got sick. So we were like really happy. And then fast forward to 2021 on the 1 year anniversary of our July date, we had essentially a vow renewal. And then our big reception with our entire guest list. So we got to basically walk through. It was a very, unique situation of getting to walk through an entire day again, which, it's just like I talked about before, it goes by so fast. So that was kind of neat to get to do and how we planned it and everything. And we just had an absolute blast. And I mean, Luke, I think you had a lot of fun too, with my bridal party and everything. But yeah,
I did,
it's just
man.
super
It was
fun.
one of my favorite weddings of 2020 and 2021. Absolutely. And it was cool for me as a vendor, and now a friend. Like, I mean, if you would have just had one wedding in 2020, like, I think we still would have connected just because I just feel like we connect, but I don't think we would be as close if, I didn't get to kind of come and celebrate with you guys.
I agree. Yeah. Cause we knew we had something else to look forward to a year later.
Yeah.
Like it just continued. Yeah. I agree for sure.
So it was a blessing for me too. Yeah. So overall for us, for all of us, and I'm sure for some, people watching that it's a very different situation. So our hearts go out to you. Hopefully everything continues to get better and we can all, continue to keep serving our clients. And I think 2022 is going to be a good year just from the way things are going. So yeah. So here's a fun question. So kind of COVID, let's get rid of all that negativity. Here's a fun question that everybody always loves talking about: gear. what is your favorite new piece of gear you picked up in 2021?
Wade, I'll let you go first.
I gotta go with the A7S III. It's probably the most obvious one that I could have said, but that thing really is just a game changer.
So basic. You're so
I
basic.
know. I don't have anything groundbreaking to tell y'all. It's just, the reviews are correct. That thing is amazing. I mean, I honestly, I had the A7 III before that, and that thing looks like garbage comparatively. I just, like, when I have to film a wedding, or when I have that camera during the ceremony as a secondary camera, I'm like, ugh, I have to use this next to my A7S2 or A7S III footage. It's not great, but the A7S III has made my films look so much more cinematic and beautiful. The colors are amazing. So many technical things that are better about it. It's like I love how they've set up the menu where you can have favorites and stuff like that. I love just pretty much everything about it. It's so much better. So if you were skeptical, please just know that it's great. And if I don't want to do, I guess the second one would be my gimbal, the RS2, I believe. That thing's great too. That's a huge jump up from the Ronin S, which was the one that I had before that.
Okay, give us your hot take. So what makes that better?
Well, I love that they have the locks on. Yeah, they have the locks on the motors for when you're balancing it. And that thing, that was just such a huge pain in the butt when you had to balance all four of them, and trying to figure it out. You can just isolate one, lock all the others, isolate one, and balance it. That makes things so much quicker. And probably the most underrated thing that I never saw a review about at all, but when I balanced it, I can tear that thing down and put it in the box still balanced. Before, with the RS or the Ronin S, just that one, you had to loosen everything and unbalance it to put it back in its case. So this, along with it being a lot more compact, that's a great storage option. I can just I never have to balance it anymore unless I'm using a different lens. I just take it out and do that. There's a lot of like great technological advancements they made in it that some of them are over my head, but that is like the most like day-to-day amazing thing that they did differently.
Cool. Yeah. Good word. Good
Thank
word
you.
there. Ryan, what about you?
I'm just going to be on the audio side. I'm looking forward to making more body and glass upgrades this year, but I bought a Zoom H1N recorder this year to go with my lav mic, just for some, other audio and whatever. And I love that thing. It is so compact, so easy, very simple to use. And yeah, it's just, I want to, and we'll talk about this a little later too, with like goals and stuff, but like audio is something I want to get better at because I just think it's important and it can add stuff, a lot of good like value to films. But anyway, that's definitely been something that I've had a lot of fun with, like playing around with and just trying to see what's best, what settings are best to use it with, and recording this or that, or just having it as a backup too, because you never know when something's going to fail. And Wade was awesome and let me kind of borrow an extra like lav mic this year, for example. I just wanted to have as much audio as I could because I knew that was going to be something that was easy to just like kind of just die. I know we're always like stressed out about what's going to like break or fail or whatever during the day. That's a whole other anxiety thing we can talk about later. But
Yes.
but yeah, but yeah, Zoom H1N has been really fun for me for sure.
That's awesome. I like how this kind of serendipitously worked out. So Wade talked about video, you talked about audio. I'm going to talk about light. And so I've been using lights for a while now. And I think that's one of the things that just make my films look so good. So I started out using this light here. It's actually a panel light. I kind of have like a filter on it to make it look like it's got some shape to it. But it's great, super bright, and can color balance. I've used them at at all but like all but three of my weddings now. For the last three weddings, I picked up these light tubes. You can see right here and right here. And I have some 4-foot versions and some 2-foot versions. And I got them mainly for like some stuff I wanted to do for YouTube and this channel, but I wanted to like just take them to a wedding and just try them out. And they give great quality light. They are quicker to set up, mainly because they don't have soft boxes on them, which I kind of don't like, but I'm just playing around, like getting used to. Soft boxes still on such a small source still doesn't help really give you a soft image. It just kind of takes the edge off. And since these are light tubes, like, I mean, it's already kind of softening as it goes out. But they just look a lot better on camera than my other lights did. And I've noticed, like, whenever I do see them on camera, I just like it a lot more. They look a lot more modern and less like geary. It's kind of they almost look like a decoration.
Yeah.
So I found that the planners that I've worked with at those events, I say, I love your lights. Those are so cool. And like, that's always great because the planner is like meticulous about how things look and the design that they've dreamed up and worked on with the client. And I also use some more like circular backlights that I don't have up anywhere right now, but I still use those as backlights because they give that nice like flare. I love flares in my films. But anyway, so the tube lights are something that I'm really trying to incorporate into my wedding films and just kind of ease of use. They're a lot lighter. They have internal batteries. These panel lights, they have these big brick batteries. And so, like, for example, I'm traveling to Colorado here soon. I'm not going to have to take probably an extra, I don't know what these things weigh, probably an extra 5 pounds, maybe 6 pounds of batteries with me because I'll be taking the light tubes instead. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And another thing, I'll give you like a bonus thing. I've started, instead of like carrying all of my tripod bags and things in separately, I have this big 36-inch duffel bag that I now put all my lights and tripods in, and I just roll it with me everywhere I go. And that has been a big, like, just logistical help as well, just like setting up, tearing down for the night. It's a lot easier on my back as well. Again, don't make fun of me, guys. I'm a lot older than you, but a lot easier on my back and my knees, and just less hassle as well. So yeah, the light tubes and just kind of consolidating gear so I can carry it easier.
Yeah. And I would say as far as our stages of our career, those three things are probably the best order to upgrade your stuff. Like, of course, you've got to have video already, but I'd say audio is a great first step of upgrading, and then upgrading your video to a new level. And then lights definitely are a more luxury thing to have, especially for weddings. I mean, if you're doing other stuff, they're more of a necessity, but for wedding, it's run and gun. Those are luxury. So I'd say I like that we all said those things, because I think that's a good progression of improving your gear for like the big things.
It's an interesting insight. I like that. Well done. So next question, what kind of, and we're already like at an hour right now. So if you guys like, man, I got to go, Luke, just let me know. But I'm the oldest here, and so I'll go take a nap while you guys are talking.
In case you missed that,
Yes. What kind of music are you into now, like for your wedding films? I feel like this is something that will change a few times in your span of wedding films. I started out really into and I'm still in it. Tim Halperin, love that guy. Usually anything he puts out, I will use at least once a year. On Music Bed, I'm all the way. Music Bed, I'm all in. Tim Halperin is always great. Use some a lot of well, now I'm drawing blank on his name.
You've actually met Halperin, which is kind of cool.
I have. I've shot a music video for Tim Halperin.
Oh, nice.
So Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a dad and a Nashvilleian, and just an incredible songwriter. Lyricist. Is that the word?
It
Hmm.
is.
Hmm.
He's solid. And then you used it was a song you danced to with Becky for your first dance,
Ben
Ryan.
Rector.
Ben Rector. Yes, thank you. I love him as well. Anyway, I was into their stuff a lot whenever I first started out, just because it was so easily accessible on Music
Right.
Bed,
Yeah.
and it always had just a good
Very
rhythm and a
wacky.
good mood, good lyrics, good emotion. I've kind of evolved my style to adopt in different things. I haven't left that, but I've adopted in some different things. But before I talk about that, what are you guys into?
Yeah, like I'm trying to. That's one of the things that I like when I said I want to evolve my storytelling a little bit more this year. I want to go more towards these songs that I've liked for a while. Kind of the genre of a guy on Music Bed that I like called Jennerden. Um, he has a lot of really cool like ambient and cinematic music. I don't think any of his songs have lyrics, which is I like because that is a little bit more challenging in a wedding.
Who is it again?
Jennerden. Um, I think it's Gen
I think I know who
ER.
you're talking about.
There's a Y in there somewhere.
Right. I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, it's a lot of like very synthetic sounds, but they sound so cinematic. Sound like it could be a movie. And since there's no
Mhm.
lyrics, it's a little bit more challenging because you've got to push the emotion with the visuals more, and hopefully line it up with the music because there's no lyrics for you to catch your attention to. So that's something I want to do a little bit more of, is using less lyrics in my songs or in my videos, um, and just have that kind of the feeling of the music drive the video. So that's what I'm trying to gear towards this year in 2022.
What about you, Ryan? What kind of music have you kind of gravitated towards this first year?
Well, yeah, you kind of mentioned too. I mean, I'm a soft spot for Ben Rector. I had a bride who also danced to another song, not my wedding song, but a different Ben Rector song. So I definitely want to use that for them because they're massive Ben Rector fans. But The Light and Heat, I think, is really great too. Just another solid music bed
So good.
artist.
Yes.
And you showed me chapters. I mean, they're obviously one of
Oh
the
yeah.
greats as well. But I, I did for my most recent project was an engagement film that I did. I actually went more. This band's called Boundary Run, but essentially
Yeah.
it went. Yeah. It's more of it was a Bon Iver kind of like vibe to it a little bit, like very like atmospheric. Just very kind of indie folkish or whatever. And I'd love to kind of go a little more that way if I could. But it depends too on like the couple and kind of the setting and kind of where you're at, right? It has to like fit, and that's part of the fun of doing this, like setting music to all this is because it's just it will in a perfect scenario it kind of speaks to me. It's like this kind of fits with this and it just works. But I really want to go kind of that indie folk way a little bit, and I'd like to eventually. I've been doing mainly just one song videos at this point, but I'd love to do when I do multiple, kind of switch gears when you get a reception and go high energy. Whether that's
Yeah.
like pop or rock or whatever. I'm excited to do a lot more of that too, as you kind of like get into some of those longer films I'm going to make as well. So
Yeah, Boundary Run. So that's a project by Tim Halperin as well. He
okay,
does the lyrics for that. And then yeah, I've noticed that a lot of music bed, it'll be like even the same two artists, and they'll have like two or three different projects, like different names of bands that they're with.
Yeah,
And it's cool because they get to explore like a different side of their music without
hmm
kind of ruining their brand or running what they're known for. So that's pretty cool. I'm all for it. Yeah, you mentioned The Light, the Heat. That guy has another one, Prague. His name Prague, and they have a song Fury that I love. I've used that on 2 weddings now, and it's just got a great vibe to it. Um, one that I ran into this year that I really like, Mike Maines is putting out some good stuff. He's been around for a while, but I've enjoyed some of his newer stuff.
He's very
And
rocky,
then
isn't he?
yeah,
Yeah.
he's kind of exploring, I think, a little bit of some other angles as well. Hannah Parrott has a song called Tilt that I used in a big film this year, and it is like super dramatic. And so if you enjoy like just really dramatic music for montages or details and dress and moody shots, highly recommend checking that out. Tilt, Tilt. Check that out on MusicBed. I think you'll like it. Um, I want to keep us moving. I had a question teed up about, what's the best camera for wedding filmmakers in 2021. Unless you guys were like really excited to talk about that, can we move on to 2022?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think good. Wade already
Okay.
said it, so I think
Okay.
we're
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
good.
Let's move on to some. So that's our wrap up for 2021. You're welcome for all that. So 2022 expectations. Um, what are your goals for your business in 2022? So we just got through talking a lot about some different things we went through in 2021 and some different ideas and music that we're into. So now looking forward, what are we thinking? What are our goals for 2022? Wade, I want to start with you.
Hmm.
Since I would imagine that you're probably where a lot of people are right now, kind of you said you're going into your 5th year, right? Or your 6th year.
Yeah.
And so I bet you're maybe just a little bit ahead of where a lot of people are in the wedding filmmaking community. Cause I feel like a lot of people that I see are like in their 3rd or 4th year. And so you're kind of just a little bit ahead of that mark. So I bet you'll have some good insight. What are you looking at for 2022?
Yes. The biggest thing is upping my pricing a little bit. That's the thing that I've been working on for a month, maybe 2 months. Um, Updating my price, just because I feel like I've gotten to the point where I have earned that, and like my quality of work was a little bit too much for what I was charging. So it's a little bit scary because I'm in the Nashville market, which is a very saturated market, and I've gone all in on paying for some advertising things and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of a stressful. It's a jump you got to take for sure. But I'm very confident in what I can do, and I don't feel like I'm charging too much for that. So that always helps. Like I know that I'm going to give them a product that's worth it for people that are willing to pay that. I'll give them what it's worth. So that's pretty much that's what I'm doing right now. And like the main things that I'm trying to do to implement that is using the knot and wedding wire to get my name out there. Because in the past, really like over 50% of my weddings have been word of mouth. My wife's friends, my friends, anybody that I know from high school and stuff like that. Eventually that's going to run out. I feel like the people that I know they're not going to keep getting married. So I'm trying to get that advertising out there, which is something I've never really done. I'm also trying to make a website that is manageable, that's presentable at least, and get my best work out there. And, maybe I'm trying to work on creating a little highlight film of like some of my best work, especially the stuff that I've done since I have had my new camera. Just kind of like little things that reflect a little bit of a higher brand. As far as branding things, I also want to have like a logo stinger at the end of my films. I haven't been doing that or putting my logo on it at all, which is probably not very smart. But if I do that, I want to animate it and make it like an actual little stinger. So I'm just working on a lot of things that before people see my film that I give them, they know that it's a brand worth investing in.
That's awesome. And I want to like kind of pause and like just have an aside statement. So maybe a lot of people out there kind of either just starting their videography business, or you're, you feel like you're stuck in your 3 or 4 or whatever. Like, just listening to Wade, I would say that Wade is a successful videographer. I mean, he's, like you said, he's been married for about a year and a half, and he's been, you know, supporting alongside of his wife, his family, dual income. But he's not like sitting at home playing video games, just waiting for the phone to ring most days.
Yeah.
Um, he's making it happen. And there's still a lot of these, like what maybe a lot of people say, oh my gosh, you don't have like a logo stinger, or oh my gosh, you haven't been marketing yet. There's a lot of work out there, and you don't have to have it all figured out to be successful or to be making money. And different markets are different. Obviously, some are harder, some are easier, kind of depending on your brand and your vibe. But I think that's just a good testament to, like, you're kind of saying just a lot of these like easy things you just got to check off the list,
Mhm.
that you didn't have to have it all figured out to actually start making money and being a professional in the industry. So I just wanted to mention that as just an encouragement to anybody watching and kind of figuring all this stuff out alongside with us.
Yes, that's a good point.
Ryan, what about you, man? You got big goals for 2022?
For sure. Yeah, I've quite a bit. Like I said, getting done with year one, it was just kind of like a obviously learn what the heck's going on, and then kind of get my feet under myself. But for year two, I think I want to invest my like in some like education. I'd like just more of that. I want to just grow and learn and just continue to whether it's workshops, whether that's more courses, whether it's whatever. I just want to constantly be absorbing info, because I think you can never have too much of that in anything that you're like going through in life, but especially as I want to grow a business. So I think investing myself a little more from that regard, I think, is a big goal of mine. um, I'd love to connect with more like vendors and maybe planners in my market. Me and Wade have talked about this before, but like, Nashville is super saturated, but at the same time, there's a lot of opportunity out there as well. And so it's, I just want to get a little more ingrained in where I am, because most of what I've shot and most of what I've booked for this year is word of mouth back home, or friends from college who live somewhere else or whatever. So I would love to get more of my name out there in my current like market, in my current space. So I think those are two big ones. And the final just fun one, I'd love to shoot an elopement. I'm just gonna like manifest it that I shoot an elopement. I mean, I don't know if that's gonna happen, but like I want to do that badly. So yeah, there you go.
Like every time we've talked, you've talked about wanting to do an elopement. If you really want that, that's
I do.
gotta
I
make that
do.
happen.
It is for real, man. I just think it'd be so fun.
So in your head, what does that look like? Are you like in the Rocky Mountains, or are you just like on a trail outside of Nashville, or
Yeah, I think it'd be something like, I mean, Colorado is a great example because Colorado is a huge elopement state for a lot
yeah.
of that, like, because the scenery is just incredible. So yeah, something adventure based on, yeah, it's just maybe a micro wedding somewhere with just a beautiful backdrop. That would be like, check, done. I'm happy. I got to fly the drone around. Like, it would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think I told
It's
you this, Ryan, when we talked about this last. I got pretty much booked something similar. It was a micro wedding. I don't think it was an elopement because I think their family was still going to be there, but I had it booked, pretty much all but booked, for going to Iceland. It was like 3 hour drive from Reykjavik, and
oh
so
man.
like really out in the countryside of Iceland. And they showed me a picture. It was like a little church chapel on this little hill in this field of flowers with the mountains in the back.
Hmm.
I was so excited. I was charging them the like bare. I mean, I almost was making no profit just because I wanted this to happen. And this was in 2020, so COVID knocked that one out, and I'm so upset about that because that
Oh
could have been
gosh.
amazing. That I would have loved.
My my heart hurts for you. Yeah, I mean that's
yeah.
the dream right there. I mean, and those kind of stuff is like, but you're saying something that's true. Like that's something that you would compromise because it's like a brand builder and it's something that you just want to do and you'd be excited to do.
Yes.
So yeah, for sure.
And that's cool because that's makes sense that you like it, because you started with travel videos and stuff like that. You like travel, and now combine that with weddings. So that's exactly what that is.
Right. Exactly.
For me, I think my big goals for 2022 are to kind of pivot my business a little bit. And so I love wedding filmmaking. I never want to like stop doing that. And I know a lot of videographers are like, oh yeah, I'll do weddings for a few years until I get into, the commercials and the music video making. Then that's what I want to do. But I would love to do weddings for as long as I can. At the same time, I know that like in 15 years, I will be 51, 52 years old and probably a lot more overweight than I am already. And, that's just the reality that a beautiful 22, 23-year-old bride is not going to want a 51-year-old, with asthma, just huffing and puffing and wheezing. Okay. Yeah. Let's kiss him one more time. It's just not in the cards for
Young
me.
man's game.
Yeah, and I'm the kind of videographer where I'm on the gimbal or I'm handheld. I don't like the static shots on the monopod. It's just not my style, and so I feel like I'm going to give out a lot quicker than maybe some other people would. But that said, I'm trying to think more long term about my career and just about taking care of my family, and then kind of what is after that, retirement. And that's a crazy thought for a lot of people I know, but don't even think about retirement. Just think about, okay, how do I make money when I'm in my 50s? And so I think either that is you have other people working in your brand and for you, and kind of like what Wade was talking about, training other people, or you have to kind of create a bigger space for more income. And so I'm going to pivot to take on more commercial work this year, which is still going to be hard on the body. I'm still going to be filming and doing some crazy stuff, but it's going to allow me a lot more avenues for income, especially not having to travel as far as well with a family here at home. And so I don't know exactly how that's going to work out, but I just want to start the building process this year. And so I'm, I don't even have like a hard, set goal, but let's say, I want to get 10 clients this year and just do 10 commercial projects just to kind of start being known in my community and as the go-to person for that. There's really, in my immediate community, there's really no, you know, competition for that, especially kind of at the quality and the caliber that we would produce something at. And so I kind of feel like the world's at my feet. I just got to take the time and take the intention and give it the attention it needs to just kind of buckle down and do it. And then in addition to the commercial business, just launching the course that I was talking about. So those are my two big goals for 2022 that I'm excited about. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
What does that pivot look like for you? Like, how do you go into getting more commercial work? For me, at least, and I'm sure there's plenty of people out there, where do you even start? I don't even know.
So that's a good question. So I think the first part of that for me was creating space for me to even be able to handle extra work. Because I think before I was too busy with weddings to even, think about taking on commercial work. And where I'm at now with weddings, like if I wanted to fill up my schedule, I could just, decrease my pricing by a little bit. And then, you fill up your schedule. And so I wanted to not fill up my schedule. So I increased my pricing to kind of an uncomfortable amount to where I was like, I may get 10 weddings this year. I've already passed that threshold, thankfully. But, and so I've increased my pricing to take on less work this year. So that looks like now, from this Colorado wedding until July, I don't have anything booked. And so I have about 4 months for me to thankfully I have cash in the bank. And so I'm not worried about eating or sleeping, but, I do that. That's the opportunity I've made for myself to get out there, put myself out there, do some marketing, do some communication. I've already worked on a project with another local guy who's pretty well known in the community, so I feel like that's going to snowball. And so, number one is just make some space for yourself, whether that's outsourcing editing, increasing your pricing so you're taking on less bookings and making that margin for yourself, and then just connecting with whoever you know that knows someone or has a business or has something that you can make something for them, that if other people saw that, they could kind of see how you can make something for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like I showed this coffee commercial I made, I showed that to another professional just this last week. And I said, so this is something I made, and we really dived down deep into like what his process was, because we wanted to show his process, or excuse me, we wanted to show his clients the process that he went through to create his coffee. And that gives him authority, and that gives him confidence, and that kind of makes him the unofficial leader of the coffee game in his world, in his community. So I said, this, I think we could do the same thing for you. Obviously, you're not making coffee and you're not roasting, but, we could show you working with your clients. We could show you going through your process, and of course, shoot it in a beautiful way to make something that looks good. But that made sense to her. And so those are some things that I would start with. And I would never like cold call or cold email. I've thought about also, like, I'm just going to try to connect with some real estate agents as well, do a little bit of real estate videography. I'm not passionate about that. I don't think I'll love it, but it'll hopefully be something where it can kind of fill in the gaps, make a few extra $1,000. And so I'm just going to call them and going to ask if I could stop by and chat. That's how I'm going to do that. I would not recommend cold calling and asking if they have any work to send my way, or to just cold email them and say, hey, I'm a videographer, you need to work with me. But I feel like building a business to business is going to be a lot about relationships. And I'm going to be mindful of like not pricing myself for businesses that are hunting for price, because again, I'm in this for the long run. I don't need an extra $10,000 this year. I need, an extra $60,000 a year, 15 years from now. And that's the way I'm trying to think about this and build this. And so I think there's a different approach there. So I'm just going to try to price myself for that perception of quality. Like I think you were kind of mentioning earlier. I think Ryan was talking about that, maybe even before we went live. But yeah, so that's where I would start. Does that answer your question?
Yes, that's good. Thank you.
Everybody watching, I am a self-professed babbler, and I will just, Lord knows what I'll talk about.
We love it. Just let them roll.
Yeah, let the wisdom roll
out. Okay, so that was a good question to open up with. So here's kind of a more general question, but for those people still with us, do you see any shifts happening in the wedding industry for this year? Like any big changes that are on the horizon?
That's a tough one. I'll take it first. I just think that, and this is a good positive thing I'm going to bring up, but just in the industry as a whole, I think film is continuing to get more prevalent and popular. I think that there's a time, maybe Luke, when you were starting out, where it was just like, I don't know, you probably had to sell people a lot harder than you do now, or people don't see merit as easily in that. I think that, with the way social media is now, with the way that things like apps like TikTok and even Instagram are now like a video platform. That's what they've launched with. They're no longer just photo. I think it's just more now than ever okay, we need to book photo and video, whereas maybe before it was just photo and maybe video, or just photo no video kind of thing. But y'all may agree, y'all may not agree, but that's maybe me being hopeful as well for our continued work and success in the industry. But that's just kind of what I'm like sensing from the industry as a whole, like on the vendor side. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I think I agree. The major, or at least I think it kind of depends on the price range for people. Because with our micro brand, I still feel like we're the last people that to get contacted. You're the last vendor at least, and I hear that from them. But I do feel like you're right. Like overall, it's getting more important. I feel like the micro brand stuff. Even 5 years ago, people that are buying our services now would not have been even thinking about it. It was something that people were like, "Man, I wish I had gotten a videographer, but didn't." Um, and I think that's happening less and less now. So I think the importance of it is rising. I think you're right. It's going to be a weird dynamic when, like, the power shifts, if it ever does, between photo and video. Because as of right now, like when we go to weddings, we kind of defer to the photographer in a way, because that's just as is perceived as the more important thing, and they're very good at what they do, and they're usually very good at leading the day because that's a part of the job at this point in wedding photography. So that'll be a weird day when it's more perceived that when they're looking at us as the videographers to be like, all right, what are we doing next, as opposed to looking at the photographer first.
Yeah, I think that's some really great insight, Wade. And I agree. So I think by 2025, we'll start to see those planes of perception and planes of value and planes of packaging pricing start to really even out. Already, you kind of mentioned it earlier, but like, just different tiers of, budgets, for higher end budgets. um Videographers are already getting paid more than photographers, and there's a little bit of weird stuff happening there because I don't understand everything about photography, but I know photography, they have a lot of after wedding sales, from prints and
Mm.
pictures and frames and all that cool stuff that they get to do. For video, lots of people like to, again, to upsell and come out. I don't like to do that. I like to kind of just do, hey, you know what you're getting. But anyway, so I feel like already I'm starting to see, like, I'm probably about mid to high, like middle end, high mid end in my area, and I'm already seeing that I'm getting booked before photographers. I'm getting higher packages than some of my photography partners. Um, Depending on kind of what the client is wanting, they may kind of say, like, give me preference, like, hey, in this moment, like, I kind of want you to lead the first look so you make sure you're getting everything you need. And so it just kind of comes down to communication. So I think you're right, Wade, that we're going to see a lot of those dynamic shifts. I think that the people who will thrive the most in the next 3 to 5 years are going to be those videographers who really kind of grab onto that wave and present themselves with the confidence, like we were talking about earlier, and the authority to be like, I can lead us through your day. I can make sure that you have an incredible wedding day, keep us on time, keep us on track, make sure we get everything that you're wanting. um a lot like the photographers do now, because a lot of times the photographers are kind of not necessarily the planners of the day, but they're like, they're the time watch of the day, right? They're hitting the big points, and they have their Pinterest list that the brides have given them. Eventually we're going to all start getting, TikTok lists that people want to see in their weddings. And I will not be a good fit for them, but maybe you guys could be. I'll send them to you all.
Oh, gosh, yeah, I'm not there either. I'm right in the middle of that. I'm 25 and I'm still too old for that. Hopefully, maybe I need to push myself to be into that, but I'm not on TikTok, so that's not a good thing for maybe where this business is going.
Yeah, so everybody watching, I'm the world's worst at social media, hence why I haven't uploaded a video in forever. But um, uh, I've still succeeded. Even if 2022 is my last year of filmmaking for whatever reason, I feel like I've proven that you don't have to do everything that is trendy to still
Mhm.
be relevant, and to still serve people. If you come at it from that perspective that, hey, I just want to serve somebody on one of the best days of their life, then, it doesn't matter how many views or followers you have, as long as you're focused on that, on those two people or that one client, then you can still do a great job. At the same time, I know, Ryan and I have even had this conversation. I was thankful enough and lucky enough that whenever he was in the booking phase, he actually did look at my Instagram and thought it was worthy of a phone call. So I must have just, thank God I had uploaded something that week or that month, and he saw something worthy of it.
You were current during the sales call. You really were. Yeah, it was like, so I didn't know anything different. So that was all great.
It worked out.
Yeah. But yeah, but you've talked to me about social media before too, and you're like, yeah, I can see the importance. I understand people have priorities about stuff, but your audience is like what you're saying, the two. It is the couple, like that's the ultimate audience for our business, our industry. People can get lost in the other side of it of look at this cool video I did for all my followers on Instagram or whatever. And we need to not lose sight of that. And as a whole, as an industry. So,
yeah. And I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but I want to say this because you mentioned being trendy. It's something that me and my wife have been talking about lately. And this kind of goes for anything that is like artistic or style or something like that. Trendiness is exactly that, trendy. It does not stand the test of time, whether it be like the style of a house or what kind of video looks good right now. There's a lot of trendy styles right now. Even the way that people are like planning their weddings or decorating it, it's trendy, but it looks great right now and everybody's all about it. But things were trendy in the 80s, and we look back on those things not super fondly.
Don't you hate on the 80s?
I mean, if we're honest, they gotta all look like clowns, even though it all seemed like a great idea then. So, I would just say, if you're making a wedding film, go for I at least want to go for timeless looks, because our philosophy, I think all three of us, is we want it to be something that people can look at way down the road and still love it. And if it's trendy, I'm sure it's them. They're still going to love their video, regardless of what it looks like. They may laugh at it if it's a weird 2010s or 2020s thing that two decades from now doesn't look good. But I just keep that in mind. I mean, trendiness has its value right now. And I'm not downplaying that, but that's just something to think about when you're making your films.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so who is inspiring you right now for this next season of filmmaking? It could be a Hollywood director. It might be a cinematographer doing TV work or Netflix work right now, or it might be your mom, who works out with you every day. Who's inspiring you right now?
Ryan, you take this one first.
All right, sure. So mine is in the wedding film business. I've really been looking up to and following here lately a lot Stanton Giles. He does Films by Stanton. If y'all are familiar, or if anybody watches is familiar, he has kind of created his own space in the destination realm. So his videos are just beautiful because they're usually locations that are outside the norm as far as US goes, but he's from Tennessee and has a similar upbringing to me. And so it's kind of interesting to follow him along and him talk about his journey into videography. So that's what kind of connected me with him as far as following his story. But anyway, speaking of Iceland, Wade, his most recent film is an Iceland elopement, and it is a masterpiece. And he goes down to, just all this audio of it's by volcano. There's lava sounds. There's all kinds of stuff. There's just this full on, movie, true, Hollywood movie production around this. And I just think he's incredible. So he's been super inspiring because, but just his colors, all this stuff, it's just, he does all the details well. So if you haven't seen that or hadn't seen his work, I would highly suggest checking out Stanton Giles, Films by Stanton.
Films by Stanton. Let me see if I can find his Instagram handle real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, filmsbystanton.com. That's as good as I can get in a pinch.
Where did you hear of it?
Where did I hear from him or hear of him? Probably, I think it was honestly How to Film Weddings podcast. He was a guest speaker on that, and he said he's from Memphis, and I was like, what? And then I started looking at his stuff, and he just got back from like Aruba or something, and he talked about his journey of starting doing barn weddings in Tennessee, and how he kind of grew his brand into being more of, he just wanted to pivot a little differently. I just thought it was like really interesting. And I went to see his work, and I was like, oh my God, it's incredible. So
that's awesome. I'm definitely going to check him out. Cool. Wade, have you thought of something you want me to go next?
Well, there's one guy that's inspired me for a long time. I've just never been able to pull off the kind of things that he does, obviously, because this is a Hollywood director. But Wes Anderson, I just love.
His style.
I just love the way that he shoots things, how it looks, that's all the symmetry and the color and the wide shots, using wide shots during an intimate moment and stuff like that. I just love that. And I think that could be really cool in a wedding video. Just having I think it would take the right scene or the right venue, I guess, for it to work, but just having a wide shot, maybe with like the first look and having that be just set up. But I think the problem for me is that he just curates it so well before, because it's a movie. It's hard to make that happen in a wedding film, but I do love like symmetry like that, and the wide gaping, being able to see everything, those kind of shots, and the colors that he uses too. But that's something that I would strive to do if I had the ability to do it.
That's cool, man. I like that. You should, like you'd have to be the right couple, but just maybe plan like a creative session or something, like just some afternoon where you just go out and film and kind of have it all blocked out for them. Yeah,
I would love to do that, because it would definitely need to be I have every shot planned, and then I take them, and because that kind of takes, it's the problem. It kind of takes a little bit of the magic out of the day when you're trying to produce a film like that.
Right.
We also
there's no romance in the production of it. It's all behind the scenes work.
Yeah, so that would definitely take the right couple and the right amount of time for me to do that.
Absolutely.
That's a good answer. For me, I'm trying to watch more like people in the commercial world, cinematographers. So I've been following Patrick O'Sullivan. He has a podcast and a YouTube channel called The Wandering DP. And it's pretty good. He's got a good sense of humor, kind of cynical vibe about him, which I enjoy. There's also a guy, Lewis Potts. He's a commercial cinematographer, super laid back, but just really good, kind of clean, crisp, real. He has some videos that are like 2 or 3 minutes where he just explains how he did something. And then he's like, okay, I'll see you in the next video. And so it's like, they're not trying to be like this big YouTube thing. They're just trying to be helpful, which I'm all about. So it's really cool. And then Chris Do from The Future without an E. I really dig his stuff. They do a lot of great stuff there. I think he kind of got his chops in video work, and then like built a design firm and did like a bunch of motion VFX and got some Emmy Awards or Academy Awards, whatever awards you get for that stuff. He's got them. So he's really good at what he does, but he kind of leads just people doing all kinds of creative work now, whether you're a photographer, a designer, a videographer, there's web developer, whatever. He's just really good at kind of just thinking differently, and he's got that confidence. So he kind of gives some good like tips and tricks, and he does a lot of role playing. And so I highly suggest The Future. Always good. What is an area of filmmaking that you want to invest extra energy into this year? And we kind of already covered that a little bit and what we said we were like who was inspiring us, but I'll answer it. And if you guys have an additional answer, feel free to chime in. But what's an extra area of filmmaking you want to invest extra energy into this year? I'm going to say color grading. And I've finally kind of dove in and got a course. I got color grading central, I think, Dallas Riddle. And so I'm halfway through module one, I think, and he's just kind of going through DaVinci Resolve right now. But I've done a few projects on DaVinci Resolve right now, and it is surprisingly easy to transition from Premiere Pro to DaVinci Resolve. It works on kind of the layer timeline, and so it's pretty easy to like figure out and to make it seem intuitive. So that's what I'm really wanting to get into in 2022. What about you guys?
I'm muted. I definitely, just like before, I was saying, want to get more into using music to, lyricless music to tell the story. I want to work harder on my edits. It's hard to stay focused for that long for me, especially working from home. So I just want to take more time with some of these wedding videos and really invest into making them a good story and get better at doing that.
What about you, Ryan?
Yeah. Going off kind of what Wade said too, just at kind of a different scale, but just I want to. Most of mine have been 3 to 4, minute. I would like to kind of expand my times out a little more, do some more 5 to 7s, have a little more of the maybe go a little more on the doc edit side, just a little bit, just to kind of continue to kind of hone in, expand my skills. Color grading was one I thought of too, Luke. I don't feel like I'm very good at that at all. So I think it's a good area of opportunity for me to grow. Learn more about adjusting shadows, adjusting highlights. Not just slapping a LUT on there and being done with it. Like actually having a process and having a better eye for it, I think is something I really want to figure out more.
Yeah, I like what you said there. Just having an eye for it. I heard. So I forget what it was, what context it was in, but I heard somebody talking about a sushi chef and how there's this one really, really famous sushi chef, and he will go to this crazy country. I don't even remember where it was. This is a horrible story because I can't remember any of the details. Anyway, it's this really great chef, and he would take some time every year and go to a remote island in the Philippines or somewhere and just eat, their local raw fish that they just caught out. And his reason for doing that was to kind of cleanse his palate, but also make sure that he remembers like what actual like fish tastes like without all the stuff going on. So he trained his palate to know like what's the real starting point and how can I add to that? How can I add to that instead of just piling stuff in with it? And I just thought that was a great analogy for, just training your palate, training your eye, training your ear with audio. Anything that you try to start like that, you just kind of have to jump into it because you're going to look back on it in 5 years and think, man, what was I thinking? But if you hadn't have done that or made those mistakes or went too far on the orange and teal look, then you never would have got to where you are now. I love the color grading process. It's so fun. I think Wade, you enjoy it as well. But yeah, I've never really developed that eye or that skill to know like, okay, this is what it could be. And so I think that's a great, just what you said, just have an eye for it, build an eye for it. I think that's really good. It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. Is that is that sushi thing you're talking about? Was that from a documentary?
Possibly. I cannot remember.
Because in college, I had to watch a documentary called Gyro Dreams of Sushi. And I'm pretty sure that's what you were talking about. This guy
It might have been that story. That's cool.
Really seriously. But it was very interesting. So
anyway. Very neat. Okay. So I'm going to take the, unless y'all I had some other questions about gear. Did y'all have any fun or exciting things to talk about with that? I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like gear, like we could talk about that all day and still not really say anything that 1,000 other YouTubers haven't said. Anything you guys want to say about gear before we go into our lightning round? Yeah, I don't know about this. This is how we're gonna finish up.
All I'll say about gear is I want to be Team Sony like you guys this year. So that's another goal of mine. So we'll get there.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, my goal this year is to not spend too much money on gear.
Right.
I failed that the last 2 years, but I am spending a lot more money on like buying a house and stuff this year. So I'm definitely trying to cut back on the stuff I buy for gear because I'm good. I could never buy a new piece of gear unless something breaks, and I could still do really good. So I need to train myself to think I don't need gear. It's just me getting better.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Every year I tell myself, okay, I'm not going to spend all this money on stuff that I could have done the same job without. Yeah. And then I still do. But it eventually helps out, you just, Okay. So lightning round. Whew. Question number 1. And these are like hot takes. Right. They can kind of be serious or you can have fun with them. Is Snapchat still a thing for wedding filmmakers?
No.
Okay. We got a dual no on there. All right. It's all about TikTok now.
Yeah. Or Instagram stories. Instagram has killed everything Snapchat does.
Yep. And Reels too. Instagram Reels are hot too. Yep.
Instagram just steals from other social media things and makes it better somehow because it's all on one thing. So no, Snapchat is pretty much dead. It's for high schoolers.
Awesome. Slowly high school. If you're in high school and you're watching this, we're glad you're here.
Yeah,
we appreciate you being here.
Like and subscribe.
But you also probably use Snapchat. I was probably right.
All right. This is a fun one. Favorite moment to film at a wedding?
First look, probably. That's the moment I get a lot of stuff from. It's really fun to see the guy's reaction. That's kind of a tone setter for the day. If I get to see, okay, is he emotional? I don't know. I can kind of tell a lot about how a first look goes, I think.
Yeah.
I'll just go different space just for lighting around, but I like reception. Just a high energy reception is super fun. I really enjoy that part of the process.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yes. I love the sunset session. If we can work in a sunset session, 10, 15 minutes. I mean, you give me 3 minutes with a beautiful couple and a sun flare, boy, I can work.
Yeah.
So I love that. Love or hate line dances? Cha slide, Cupid shuffle.
Hate them.
Okay.
Hate.
I hate them.
Hate for sure.
Okay. Some people love them because they get people out to the dance floor.
I mean, yes, I can understand that. But
get a little bit of footage.
Yeah. But like from the filming side, like we all know the dance.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make for good video.
Okay, so this kind of goes along with it, and I think I heard this at both of your weddings. If I didn't, please forgive me. Why is Mr. Brightside still so popular?
Oh, I don't know. I love it, but it gets the white people going. It definitely gets the white people going. That
is my literal karaoke song. So there will not be any slander of Mr. Brightside here.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. It's just a banger. I don't know why it is, because I was pretty young when it came out. So it's not like in high school when this came out.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
like early 2000s. Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
yeah.
So I don't know why we love it, but we do.
And also on that Hey Y'all, I feel like Hey Y'all still gets like a oh
Yeah, it
I don't know.
doesn't take a genius to be a great DJ. You can just
Outcast.
play all those songs and get
It's
Right.
true.
going.
Okay. What do you do or say when people come up to you at a wedding and ask you to take their picture?
I just point the camera at them and let them have it. Let them have their
I
photo.
literally did this with Wade. Yeah, we got asked that together. Like we're both going to take different angle pictures of these people. Yeah. Yeah. I do the same thing. I appease them by acting like I am the photographer, and then I move on. Yep.
If I'm
Yeah,
in a mood,
so
I'll tell
yeah, I'll get a clip of them if they're actually like wanting like a group picture and they're like, hey, can you come over here? I'll be like, oh, well, you need the photographer. She's over there. If it's the mother of the bride and I know the photographer's already left or something, then I will switch my camera to auto and I will take that picture and it will look so bad. It will look so bad, but I will send it to her.
them. For too
She
many
will think it will look
reasons.
great.
You're a good man, Luke. You're a good man.
I'll do anything for the mob. All right. Okay, so this is controversial. Assuming that you do not have an ND on your lens, neutral density filter, in a sunny situation, do you stop down your aperture or do you overcrank your shutter?
Aperture, for sure.
Yeah, I try to aperture. I've definitely done shutter, but
Yeah.
yeah, aperture. Yeah.
I don't like doing it. I mean, I would love an ND, and I hate how it looks if you have to adjust those things just because of too harsh lighting. But that's definitely the least of the evils.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm not too harsh on anybody who does either. Like some people are like, oh, you never want to crank your shutter. And it's like, it's fine. If you're not going to be needing slow motion out of it, then overcrank it all day long. Like most of your shots are 2 to 3 seconds anyway in these highlight films. So it's not like you're ruining the motion blur or ruining the story with it. I think it's fine. I like kind of that choppy look a little bit, especially if it's like a high energy moment. I think it's pretty cool. But if I'm like in a ceremony setting and it's outside and it's just really bright light, I'll stop down my aperture because I don't want to ruin the potential of like needing that slow motion of somebody walking down the aisle or an emotional moment happening and I can't slow mo it because it's going to be too choppy because of the shutter speed's too tight.
Right.
So that's my thinking on it. But yeah, it's kind of like do what you want, make your films.
You are riding that fence.
That's right. That's right. Well, hey, that's it. That's it for all of my prompts and all the lightning rounds. So you all win.
Lightning round.
You win all the fake points.
Thank you.
So with all that concluded, any concluding thoughts that maybe you had and we didn't get to, or I cut you off or anything like that you want to share with maybe somebody either just starting out or somebody who's stuck or somebody who's burnt out?
I can speak to people who are just starting out because I'm coming in from that space right now. But just again, there's nothing like just having the experience of just getting out there and doing it. I mean, I think education is super important. That's why hopefully people watching this are looking into Luke's course or other means of education, but just experience and just learning from others that are seasoned, know more. I think it's a recipe for success, and just again have that confidence to know that you can do this if you work hard with it, and to ultimately just serve your clients and worry about making it the best possible experience for them, and then everything else will kind of work itself out. So good stuff.
Yeah, I'd say if you're starting out, probably the number one thing you can do is to find somebody who has been in the industry for a while doing what you want to do and can be sort of a mentor to you, like Luke was to me. It just, you can go to college for that kind of stuff and you can do it on your own, but there's just it makes things a lot better when somebody can teach you what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and help you as you grow. I think that's just the most valuable thing you can do if you're starting off. It's super important, because if I didn't have Luke, I wouldn't have had equipment to even start, because he let me borrow equipment. He sent me notes on my stuff, on what I was doing wrong or what I could do better on, stuff like that. And it's the reason I haven't had to advertise myself really until now, because I've been able to work with him and sustain myself for so long. So I think having somebody that can teach you is a huge thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. And thank you for those kind words, Wade. I had a good friend of mine who was a photographer, and he really helped me get started. Brought me along to a few weddings with him, and gave me feedback on pricing and all that stuff. And so it doesn't even have to be a videographer. It could be a photographer. It could be someone who does print design. But they work in the creative world. We all kind of deal with these same issues of worrying about how are people going to perceive me, and am I good enough to work in this market, or yada yada yada. It's kind of all the same. It's just people problems, and it's just people we're dealing with. So anybody can help you out. And yeah, I think those are all good thoughts. There's something. Oh yeah, Wade mentioned giving him feedback. So when I was filming his wedding, I was as I was filming, I was like not talking to the camera, but I was talking where I knew the camera was picking up my voice, and I was telling him, "Hey, here's how you can edit this," because he edited his own video. But I don't know if that's too pretentious of me or not. I was like, "Here's what you can do, buddy."
No, there's a couple of times that's a good idea. We'll do that.
So if anybody's still watching at this point, we're about wrapping up. But one idea that Ryan and I actually had the other night when we tried to do this last week, and Wade actually got into a wreck. So good to have you with us this week, Ray. Wade. But Ryan, we talked about how, since I filmed both of their weddings, it might be interesting to like go back and review their wedding films with them. It's kind of like from a behind the scenes perspective. And like, even with Wade, he edited the film that I shot. So just like the difference in how he made things. So anyway, if you would like to see something like that, maybe comment below or send me an email or an Instagram or a carrier pigeon, since evidently I don't do social media. Do that. But thank you so much, guys, for coming on. Gosh, we've talked for almost 2 hours, just rambled on. It's been fun for me. Hopefully in the future, it will be helpful to somebody out there who put us on to help them go to sleep at night. And so maybe you're waking up at 2 a.m. with slobber on your mouth, and you're like, oh my gosh, these guys are still talking.
They're still talking.
Yes, still talking about wedding films.
Next time we need to do an ASMR version where we whisper into the mic, get some
just whisper. That's great. I bet our wives could do that. All of our wives have very soothing voices, I feel like.
Well, absolutely. Yeah.
We'll have the hotties of Wedding Film Coach. Wedding Film Coach goes wild. Well, none of them would appreciate that. No, I don't think that would work. All right. Well, thank you guys. We'll stay on, but we'll sign off of YouTube live here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And check out weddingfilmcoach.com, or check out more of the channel for maybe more videos like this, and comment. Let us know kind of what you're needing. One of my biggest hopes for this channel is just exactly that. It's helpful. I'm not trying to grow a big following or a big community or all that stuff. I got plenty of stuff to keep me busy, but I do want to help you. That's what I'm passionate about. So thank you, these guys, Ryan and Wade. Give a shout out to them. Give us your Instagram handles real quick, guys, where people can find you.
My personal is at Wade_Hodges_. If you go there, you can find my business and stuff too, because I can't think of the other stuff off the top of my head.
And Ryan, you?
Yeah, I'm my film company is at Ember and Ash Films, and then emberashfilms.com. So
Awesome. And I am at LW Films, and we will see you guys later. Thanks for joining.